Yo, what's up, guys? So we did finally get that new orb, the frozen orb for Annie. So it's time for us to make the updated tier list on the orbs. So let's go hop right into it. All right. Also, as we go through it, I'll tell you how to get each of the orbs. So make sure you guys use my star code BLAM whenever buying Robux or Premium. It really helps support the channel. Let's hop right into it. First up, guys, we have the Beast M Scaling Orb. All right, honestly, you get this this orb from raid 1 extreme. It's honestly pretty mid. Minato isn't the worst thing in the world, but the problem is Minato isn't the greatest for story because look at his starting stats. His final stats are good, but his starting stats are pretty doo-doo. All right, next up, we have the Bomb Orb. Now, the Bomb Orb is a great orb. You get it from Trial 2 Extreme, and what the Bomb Orb does is it boosts the initial spawn damage by 30%. Honestly, a very, very good orb. And it's honestly really good for use with these two units, guys, the buff units. I like to call it the buff orb. It's really good for Skeleton as well as for Irwin. So it's basically the buff orb. The joke is, though, it's terrible on his OG unit, Yoshikaga Kiryu. It's terrible for him. Like, literally terrible. Next up, we have the Cost Orb. I'm going to put the Cost Orb in A tier as well. Technically, it is a Meta Orb, guys. It's good. It's just like, I just don't feel like it's that necessary. It reduced the initial cost by 100. It's just not that necessary, guys. It's useful, but not like super like OP useful. So, yeah, overall, not the greatest in the world, but it's still a good orb. Next up, we have the Fire Rage Orb. So this Fire Rage Orb is pretty OP. You get it from Challenge 1. All right, so the Fire Rage Orb boosts the initial spawn damage by 100%. So very OP for, I like to use them on the strongest curse, or I like to use it as well on Goldie Roger. So for that reason, definitely S tier, but it's mainly for raid modes, except if you want to use them on King of Heroes. It does give him a pretty decent damage buff as well. Next up, we have the Golden Frieza Scaling Orb. It's slightly better than the Beast M Scaling Orb. I like Golden Frieza's stats. You get this one from being Trial 1 on Extreme. All right, so, but it's a fairly decent orb. Makes him a pretty decent unit with decent damage. Nothing too OP, though. So we'll say slightly better than the Minato Orb. Oh, my gosh. You get this one from the Orb shop. It is so bad. It is so bad. Look at this. Like, dude. Like, yeah, it's a cool initial spawn damage, etc. But, like, there's just no point in getting it. Same with the Lightning Orb. Lightning Orb is slightly better. All right, Lightning Orb, you get it from the Orb shop as well. But, like, Zenitsu is just such a bad unit. It's just not worth it, like, whatsoever. Next up, we have the Rainbow Orb. Rainbow Orb is definitely okay, I guess. Rainbow Orb, you get it from the Orb shop, and you get it for, like, Kovegu. Honestly, it's not like the worst combo in the world, but it's a fairly decent one, but nothing like too crazy because honestly, it's like over a year old now. They really just need to buff the orb. Death Orb is pretty good. I'm gonna give it solid B tier, mainly because he's definitely not the best damage farm anymore. The best damage farm in the game is easily going to be Yugi, and he's so easy to get from Banner Z. It's not even funny. So there's honestly like no point in even bothering getting Light Yagami anymore. Hawk Orb is half decent, but again, we do have Mihawk 6-star now, so not really a lot of people use Mihawk 5-star, but it is half decent. You get that one from the Orb shop as well, and like 1300% damage is pretty spicy, but with all the buffs and stuff, it's just not that great anymore. But definitely better than Lightning Breath Orb and Mera Orb. Path Orb, definitely one of the better damaging orbs. I'll probably give it like high B tier, maybe low A tier. It basically makes the path so OP. And again, you do get this one from the Orb shop. All right, it makes the path a meta unit for raids. Again, the path isn't great for infinite mode, but for raids, with the orb, pretty OP. No Orb, they did give Rukia a pretty spicy buff. I don't really use her a lot though. And again, you do get the Snow Orb from the Orb shop. And this works on Ice Queen D as well. So decent orb overall. Blue Eye Orb, you get it from the Orb shop. Very OP orb. They actually technically nerfed it. A lot of people don't remember. It actually was boost initial range by 100%. It's really good on cone AoE units. For example, you could use it on Blackbeard. You could use it on Ryzen. You could use it on Broly. And not that great because of the 30 range, but you could definitely use it on Raku. So full AoE units like gone. Very, 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 very good for. Very, very good for. Highly, highly recommend. All right, next up we have Whitebeard Orb. It's half decent, I'd say. I don't really recommend it though. It's good for a couple raids. Again, you get it from the shop. Majin Buu Orb, so bad. You get it from the shop. Vegeta Orb, they did give Vegeta a nice spicy buff. So I think we're gonna rank that one a little bit higher. Also, you can kind of sort of use him for infinite mode because you can use him and Vegu at the same time. So it's a pretty cool combination if you can somehow fit like Aqua Goku on your team. This orb is trash. You get it from the orb shop. So bad, so bad. Luffy Orb got a pretty nice buff, and Luffy is not the hardest like 6-star to get in the world. So like honestly, it's a pretty great. They buffed his damage a lot. So definitely a pretty spicy orb. They did make him cost a little bit more though, so he's a little bit pricier than I would like. He's kind of like in that middle ground between good for infinite and raid mode. This orb is so bad. They didn't buff Trunks at all. Orb shop as well. Again, Gon got a 6-star, so there's no point in this orb anymore. Moon Orb, they never buffed it, but it's still like half decent. It's still doing like 1,000,000 damage, but it's so expensive. So like, it's maybe like here. It's better than the rest of the orbs for infinite mode, but like overall, it's not the greatest. Rose Orb, pretty bad. You get it from the orb shop, not worth it. Lightning Breath Orb, you get it from Challenge 3. I'm gonna give it a solid A tier. Only reason is it's only really good for infinite modes with airs and like 1 or 2 raid modes. So it is technically meta. It's just not as meta as the other orbs. So yeah, we'll give it there. Giorno Orb, it's technically meta because like why not bring it? So we'll give it C tier, but I don't recommend spending your money on it. Broly Orb, it's a hard pass. You get it from the orb shop. Again, Broly got like a Broly just isn't that great, especially since they released the featured version of Broly, so there's like almost no point even bothering with it. Same with this orb. Trash. Lightning Breath Orb is actually no, this is the Operation Orb or Operator Orb. This one is actually meta though. You get it from the orb shop. It's for Dr. Heart or Law. Basically you need it for infinite mode runs, and it's helpful for raids as well if you're struggling a little bit. This orb, Coyote Stark Orb, sucks. Get it from the orb shop. This orb, again, it used to be really good back in the day, the God Heart Orb for a Buddha Chairman or Netero, but it's just not that great overall. This one I forget, but it's trash. This one, Demon Yusuke, doesn't have a enchantment, so that makes it kind of trash. Colossal Giant, again, no enchantments and not good for infinite mode. Same thing. All these orbs you get from the orb shop. Prayer Orb, you get it from the orb shop. I'm gonna give it solid A tier. I don't really know anybody who actually uses it. Actually, it's not quite as good as the Blue Eye Orb, and it's not quite as good as the Fire Rage Orb. It's stuck in like that middle ground. But I definitely think A tier is pretty solid. Blackbeard Orb, definitely really, really good. I think it's definitely, honestly, definitely probably the most meta of the orbs. It just gives, you get it from a random boss rush in World 2. And it's just a really, really great orb, guys. Basically making Blackbeard even more OP. And he already was a meta unit. Pretty trash here. Frozen Giant Orb for Annie. It's just a worse version of Dio. And Dio 6-star is so easy to get. I'm going to give it like a solid like C tier. It is free. You get it from Raid 2 on Extreme Mode. So like you might as well get it. But there's just no point. There you go, guys. Those are all the orbs ranked in All-Star Tower Defense. Let me know what you guys think down below. And make sure you guys use star code BLAM whenever buying Robux or Premium. It really helps out the channel.